Hello everybody, and yeah, welcome to another tutorial. In this case is a lens. Well, not a tutorial, but more because I have the opportunity to actually take a look inside of those Mamiya G. It's a 45 aperture and a 150 millimeter L for the Mamiya 6, and I would like to see how does this shutter actually looks inside. There isn't any info about that on the internet. I actually looked a lot but couldn't find anything about it. There's also only a parts manual out there. Maybe there are some other places, but I couldn't find it. A repair manual for this. So I think, okay, I will take a look inside and see how does it look. And this is actually the shutter in this lens. Have the two solenoids, electromagnetics that hold the when the shutter is cocked by part of this here. I mean, also with this ring. I have no idea what the name is, and it's actually cocked via this arm here at the mount, and it goes through this arm here, this lever, and it goes to inside the it's actually outside the shutter, and in that way cock the shutter. So it does in that way, kind of. And then the electromagnetic solenoids will release, so one of them will release, so you can actually cock the shutter by moving this arm here. And if we can get something to work, hopefully. So now it's actually cocked, and if I release my finger here, it will probably fire, and of course it goes pretty fast. So I see as this magnet will release by, so this one can come free, and in that way it will, at the same time, when this is pressed this way, it is possible to move for the camera, to move this lever, and at the same time it will move all the way over to here, and it will engage with this here, and in that way, when this magnet this solenoid will get some power, it will release the shutter, as I see it. Since I do not have any information about that, well, this is how I just look into it. But I will assemble it again, and hopefully you can get some useful info out of this. It's not a repair tutorial. It's more, okay, this is how it looks inside. There are possibly, I think there are many other people who know us a lot more, so maybe people can have a discussion about that. Usually it is the flex cable that has the problem here, at least up here with the mount, where the cable, where there's flex cable, is actually breaking. Very tiny break when you move the focusing helicoid, and also in the other end. So I will just put this together. Say that's only for information. So and be very careful. Oh shit. Be very careful about the wires here. They are thin. So have it nice into place here. So something like that. And then we can put it together. Hopefully everything is in place. So something like that. Something is not in place, correct? So there. Be very careful so all the wires are not pressed down on something, or it could easily break them. So there. Yeah, that's fine. That's correct. I discovered that there are two screws that hold the shutter housing here. This screw here, and there is also one hidden here. It's not the same length, but so I think, okay, better put them in the correct place again. Since well, there is maybe an idea of having the two lengths. Maybe there is not. Oh, little fellow here. Maybe someone has a stand to put the shutter on, and when working with it, I don't know. Now, next thing is the better have this here so the flex cable is not bended too much. There is some kind of insulation here, and this one with the little tab here has to go under the two flex cables, so it sits directly on the shutter housing. And the next is the smaller one without a tab, and it goes between the two flex cables. And then this plate here. So, and I think it can be a little tricky to. They're very thin, those insulation, whatsoever it's called. Something like that. And then I can put this oh, sorry. there was an error here. This one has to sit above here, and then the metal sheet goes on top of it. It's not that easy, but I think we'll make it something like that. So here, so and yeah, I think not easy to catch that hole. So here we are. And then there are two small screws. Oh. Yeah. So it must be something like that. Goes against the hole. And then put the first screw in. Whew. Also be careful that this plate is not, the plate does not have to touch the actual soldering points. So something like that. And everything is in place. So that's fine. Then the resistor board, and there is also a metal part here with the brush on, and it has to sit correct. So there are two holes in each end of the gap here that goes over the holes, but you also have to remember the aperture here, the aperture fork that is connected to this one. So I would think it tells the camera that it is adjusted to some aperture. I would think. So it set it something like that, and the bigger hole here has to sit correct there. So it should be something like that. Then I can move the half moon shape, and that way move the aperture. It sits on the back, so we cannot see it. Now, next thing is the resistor board, which looks fine, and it has to sit between the two pins here sit here and here, and it also, we can load a screwdriver and have it take care of the brush. So we can set this on here, holding down a little, put in one screw here, and whoa, safe place. Tighten it good, not too much. The screws are actually quite small. So now we are facing the wires here, and they have to be put in a way so when the front lens group is putting in, it will be something like that here. So when the front lens group is putting on, you really have to be very careful that the edge here, this edge here around it, not it does not damage the wires here, because it could be. So putting the wires over here, not doing too much. And this wire here can also be come around the cutout here, so nothing serious will happen. Something like that, I would think. Now then we need to put on the whatsoever name it is. It must be the cocking ring or so, and it has to sit in that way here. So it goes like this, and move the internal shutter part, and there is a spring here, and it also have to sit correct. So, and there is a little pin here. So by putting the spring over the little pin, which can be quite annoying, I would think. So let's see, is it faced that way? So I have to put it on that way. Maybe it will not be so hard. So there it is, correct. And in that way I should be able to actually put this on here, that way. Yeah, that's part of it. And I have to actually be sure the flex cable is coming all the way up to here, so we can move the focus ring and have it more safely stick out here. And there is another thing, that this pin here sticks out, and it has to come, you see the gap here, this gap here. Well, I have to find it here, so it has to come on in a correct way, which I think maybe can be a challenge. I don't know yet, but let's see how we'll go. Yeah, I think it will work. So I can lower this over the shutter, but I need to have something kind of a stand where I can put the shutter on so it comes deeper into the focusing housing. And for doing that, I would think some of those rubber tools can be very handy. Doesn't have to be too big, so I think it's something like not the 47mm but the smaller one, and then I will put the shutter on it, and in that way I think it will work. Maybe it has to be smaller. Maybe this smaller one, yeah, I would think so. It's something like the 26mm, this part. So I've put it on something like that, and get the focusing housing over, and in that way catch the, hopefully you can see what's going on. It's good I have a monitor in front of me so I can see what's actually going on. There's also a little screw. Okay, what's going on here? It should come in that way. So now I can lower it, and you see the two, you probably see the two screw holes gap, and they have to, of course they have to go to the gaps. Then I can move this arm here, and hopefully when I lower the focusing helicoid over it, it will catch the, yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's in place. Whew. That was a challenge. So now I can move this part here, and it will move the ring with the cam. Probably you can see it will move a little, and then I need to add the this retaining ring. Put it over, and hopefully put it on here. So I think it will work. And since I do not have a, I will just use an old compass which I have filed and grind, and it can fit in the two notches here, and in that way act as a lens tool. Then I have to catch the thread, which can be a little challenge to think. Yeah, here we go. Then I can screw it in. So something like that, and tighten it good. So now it sits where it should. And that's also fine, because down here you can see where the wire, where the flex cable comes up. there's a little screw hole down here, and this is where this piece of metal has to come in place, because I need to put it on here, down here, and I don't know the correct way of doing it, but I would think a tweezer just like this is one of those stamp collectors use a lot for yeah, working with those, with their stamps. So I think it would be possible to catch the gap here, down here, and also have it, I know it can be a little tricky to see, but I would think it would work. Looks like it's the correct way of doing it. Oh gosh. So I think it's better to bend the flex cable a little and put it in the gap in that way, and put that down here so it's bended a little. So maybe it's the correct way of doing that. This has to go all the way down to as low as possible to the place where it should sit correct. So I think I have to unhook it again, at least one end. So there, I think it should be. And in that way, I think I would be able to bend the flex cable without damage it and put it into the gap here. A little difficult to see. Okay. Wait a little. Maybe it's a smaller one I have to use instead, because when everything is sitting correct, it would be something like that. Hopefully you can see. And then this piece of bronze is actually sitting, so the wire is going behind this piece of metal. But it's actually a little tricky. Yeah, here we are. And then the other end that goes in. Yep, I think it make it, because the flex cable is actually quite stiff. Yeah, here we are. I think so. Maybe it's, we need another tool here. Yeah, seems to work as it should. This is fine. And of course the now I just want to put in a screw so we have kind of a hold on it. So it will not just flew away. You see the where it is, this pin has to bend a little, and then that way put the flex cable in between the gap here. So this is how it looks right now as it was before. So hope it makes sense. Yeah, it's correct. Wow, fine, that's good. Now the next thing is the back lens group has to come in this piece of nice here. And I think I need a stand to put it on, just like this one is the 35.54, and I will simply turn it over. There's some, of course, some dust. Works. Then flip it over and put in the back lens group. Going a little backward to catch the thread. Yeah, we'll just do so. Of course there is a lens tool they set in the parts manual, but it's not that easy without the correct tool. Let's see, okay, so now it works. And then tighten it good. So here we are. So there, and I can also just use my old compass here. And because it's also worked good for those, I mean not everything, but it's good to tighten a lens in that way. So now it's good. And then the actual all fine. Then I can put the mount on, and it should not be a problem. It's just straightforward. Also have the yeah, I'll just put the mount on, and on here there is also a back cover for it. And be careful not to pull out in the flex here way too much. So this here, it goes over the pin here and lower it, and in that way also get the flex here out of place, so it will not be bended too much. Now it sits correct. Just have to line up the mount. See the pin here, it is where the white dot or the index mark is. So now I can just put the 4 screws on, and with this screwdriver and then tighten it gently. I mean, I could use some thread lock, but and I think, well, they have used something on back then, so maybe I should do the same. Just take some blue. They have used the red one, which is a harder one. I'll just use the Loctite 243 in this case. Doesn't have to be much. There's probably somebody who think it's way too much or way too less. It depends. But it's just a tiny drop, as you can see. For that, I will just unscrew the other two. So here. So then, and then I need to put on the connector with the 2 small screws, which is here, the tiny they will sit here. See the 2 here, and they will sit here. And then this light box, also what a name it's called. You can lower it and everything sits fine. You see, that's why I set this on first, because it will be covered by this side of the well, light box or something. dark box. So I can lower this over here. So, and so don't tighten it too much because it's plastic. And then let's see, yeah, the rest of the 4 screw here on the back. And then I will put in the front parts with the aperture ring and the steel ball and little spring and so on. And there's also some other parts. So I think it will be good. So that's all fine. Then I can need to put the back cover on. So, safe place. And where is my floor here? So, now next thing is my reference mark is my index mark. So I think I will put this on here. Also because the aperture ring, this ring here, I'll move it. This ring, the front ring, has to come on, but not yet. We also have an aperture ring, and it has to sit correct. So by putting it on here, it could be whatever. You see the tiny steel ball here, and there is also a little spring underneath. Just show you. Take care of that. So better put I'll just put this on here so it sits. See, it sits correct. My index mark here, and the little steel ball will go against the notches here. Not very deep, but it will make the click function. So when I put this on here and screw it into place, and then put this ring here on, and the lock ring, the nameplate, and that's it. It's not that it's not that hard. Haha. He said. Now I'll just put on this in the spring again, so we know where it is before it disappears. So then also give it a little something like that. I like the LM47, so it's just a good, it's the Liqui-Moly. Just a tiny something. Here. Just to have the spring. I mean yeah. It will make it easier to add the steel ball here. So it will stay in place. Now load a screwdriver with a screw and put this on here. So it will be this screw hole here, I mean this hole here, will sit with the with this screw here. So we can just move this a little. Then lower it gently. So, and press it down, hold it down. Oh, not that screwdriver, but the other one. And tighten it. Now, then I would like to add a little, just a tiny drop of Loctite, L243. Doesn't be much. Then add another screw and unscrew this, because then I'm safe to actually take the screw out and add a little tiny amount. Do we have it the click? Yeah, it's nice and fine. I mean, there was already some grease on it, so this is not a problem. So there. So now I need to put in this ring that with the little pin here that goes to this gap here. And if we can make it. So you see, no, it's a free gap. It should just work. Maybe I can do this. Of course, I have to find the correct place for. So I need to push the aperture, inner aperture ring all the way up there. Set the lens to 32, because that's actually where the gap is for that pin. So let's see how it works. 32 is here, and the little gap that goes where this pin goes to is actually here. Oh, it's some kind of a plastic thingy. Out with that. Now, then I should be able to put it on. Catch the yeah, so it works. Whoa, what's wrong here? No. So now you can see it works, and that's all fine. Then I can add this lock ring, and you can see they have made they have added some kind of varnish, I guess. We can also do the same. So have this lock ring into place. In the very beginning, where I disassemble, I set a mark here where it should be, as it was in the beginning. So by not having it loosen itself, I can just add a little, just a tiny fragment. Doesn't have to be much. over there. And also over here. And we just take the last place here. Let's say that's all fine. So now the only things we need to put on is the front lens group, which looks fine. That looks really good in here. Then put it on. Yeah, and for that we need a tool that we can put the lens over it. And in that way lower it, going a little backward to catch the thread. It has to say click some way, or we could just do it with the hands is in place, and then I can tighten it good. So, and then put the name ring on and say that's all fine. Well, it looks like there was something on here, but I'll not put it on, so it will be hard for the next person to actually go into it. So that's fine. So tighten it good, and that's all. Actually, and can we see on the back here that the aperture is actually moving? Yeah, wow, something is working, so that's really good. Yeah, that was actually all for me, from me. So hope you can use this not tutorial, but just views through a Mamiya 150mm 4.5 for the Mamiya 6. Yeah, that's all. Bye bye. See you. Bye bye.